Good evening. I now call the East Lyme Zoning Commission regular meeting of February 5th, 2026 to order at 7:30 p.m. Could we begin by the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow, another full house tonight. Thank you all for coming out.
Nancy, do you have a pen?
We'll start with our roll call. Ms. Jet Harris?
Here.
Ms. Kalal?
Here.
Ms. Markovich?
Here.
Mr. Peck?
Here.
I'm here. Ms. Uhas? Our alternates, Ms. Edwards, Mr. Liska, and Ms. Sesko. All right, and then we have our staff, Mr. Mulholland, our recording secretary, Ms. Sutherland, and our ex officio, Ms. Hardy. Great, we're all here tonight and ready to go. First on the agenda, we have a public hearing. It's a continuation of the application of Parker's Place, LLC, pursuant to General Statutes 830G for a zone change, site plan, and coastal area management review for a multifamily affordable residential housing development on property located on the westerly side of Park Place, East Lyme, Connecticut, more specifically designated as Assessor's Map 11.1, Lot 11. And I believe first we need to read a memo from deep into the record. Do you have that?
Oh, good. Thank you. East Lyme Zoning Commission, care of William Mulholland, Zoning Official, Zoning Department, Town Hall, 108 Pennsylvania Avenue, Niantic. CSPR, Special Permit Parker Place Development and Change of Zoning District from RU 4020 to Affordable Housing District.
Excuse me, Nancy, can you please speak into the microphone, pull it up to you so they can hear? Thank you.
I've got a little space here. Okay, dear Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to review the above noted Coastal Site Plan Review, CSPR, and zone change applications received by the Land and Water Resources Division, LWRD, on 12/15/25. The application is proposing a zoning district change to allow construction of a 60-unit residential set-aside affordable housing development on Park Place, the new West Main Street intersection. The property is delineated as FEMA Unshaded X Zone. From the application materials provided, the proposed development does not appear to be near any sensitive coastal resources. LWRD has reviewed the proposed zone change and the CSPR for consistency with the goals and policies of the Connecticut Coastal Management Act, CCMA. Accordingly, we find them to be consistent with the CCMA. Please be advised that the consistent determination is based on coastal management considerations only and does not necessarily reflect other municipal planning and zoning considerations which may apply. These comments are made in part in response to the review requirement contained in Section 22A-104E of the Connecticut General Statutes, which requires that notification be sent to the Commissioner of Energy and Environmental Protection at least 35 days prior to the commencement of the public hearing. Once notified, our office is responsible for reviewing the proposal's consistency with the policies of Section 22A-92 and the criteria of Section 22A-102B of the CCMA. We hope these comments prove useful. Should you have any questions regarding this letter, any other coastal management or Long Island Sound matter, please feel free to contact me at karenmichaels@ct.gov. Sincerely, Karen Michaels, Environmental Analyst 2, Land and Water Resources Division.
Thank you. Before I ask, yes, Mr. Peck has recused himself, so for continuity, could Ms. Sesko come take his place during this one hearing? Thank you. Also, just a reminder to make sure your cell phones are turned off, and you will all have a chance to talk, but for now, it's Attorney Heller's time to continue his presentation. So I'd like to introduce Attorney Heller.
I'm just following directions. Okay. Good evening. For the record, Harry Heller. I'm an attorney with an office at 736 Route 32 in Uncasville, and I represent the applicant, Parker's Place, LLC. With me this evening, who will also be presenting on behalf of the applicant, is Joseph Boscus from VHB, who is a professional traffic engineer, as well as Brandon Hanfield from Yannick River Consultants, who is the design civil engineer with respect to the project. Since the public hearing 2 weeks ago, we have submitted additional documentation into the record. As you may recall, there was a discrepancy in the building plans that were submitted in conjunction with the application. There were some labeling errors. Those have been corrected to reflect the fact now that all of the 60 proposed units in this affordable housing development are two-bedroom units, and we have also submitted a table with the plans delineating that each unit has a one-car garage and the square footage of finished living area on each level and the total finished living area for the total units. In order to attempt to present a coherent presentation for you this evening, specifically designed to address first the permitting criteria on an 830G application, which I will reiterate briefly as I did at the commencement of the public hearing 2 weeks ago. In considering an affordable housing application, in order to deny an application, there must be sufficient evidence in the record that some parameter of the project is inconsistent or violative of health and safety concerns or other matters that the commission may legally consider. Of course, with this application, as you just heard from the letter that was read into the record and the presentation at the proceeding at the last hearing, there is a coastal area component of this application, so certainly consistency with the Coastal Management Act is one of those extraneous issues that the commission can legally consider in evaluating and acting on this application. If you find that there is not sufficient evidence in the record, or there is sufficient evidence in the record to deny the application, on appeal, that determination is reviewed by the court. And the court reviews it somewhat in the manner of a traditional appeal, in that it will review the record and make a determination as to whether or not your determination was correct based on the evidence in the record. If it makes a determination that there is sufficient evidence, the court then conducts what's called a plenary review or a full review. They review the proceeding. The judge reviews the proceeding de novo. And de novo, based on the evidence in the record, the judge makes a determination as to whether or not there are health or safety concerns with respect to the location or design of the project which justify denial, and then must also make a determination as to whether or not those health, safety, or other concerns that the Commission is legally entitled to evaluate on an 830G application can be rectified by reasonable modifications to the plan. And thirdly, that those health and safety concerns clearly outweigh the need for affordable housing in the town of town of East Lyme. And in order to regress for a moment, the Affordable Housing Appeals Act was derived out of a blue ribbon study conducted at the governor's request in 1988. And that study made a determination that there is a pressing need for affordable housing throughout the state of Connecticut. And that was the derivation for the legislation that became the Affordable Housing Appeals Act. The Affordable Housing Appeals Act represents a legislative enactment of an overriding public policy in the state of Connecticut to provide a sufficient amount of affordable housing across all segments of society in the town. So as we go through the presentation this evening, and as we address some of the comments and concerns that were raised by the public at the public hearing 2 weeks ago, our focus is going to be not necessarily on the empirical data, but whether or not the empirical data represents a health and safety issue or matter that the Commission can legally consider in deliberating and acting on this application. Now, in order to formulate the presentation, we're going to introduce some evidence into the record that is going to be the basis of the presentation made by Mr. Boskis, and then my arguments concerning the legal applicability of that evidence to the legitimate deliberations that you can conduct with respect to the application. So at this time, I would like to introduce Brandon Hanfield to introduce into evidence a couple of displays that he has made that we're going to utilize in the presentation this evening. And for the record, I first want to introduce two things. The first will be the resume of Brandon Hanfield, qualifying him as an expert in the field of civil engineering. And the second will be a February 4, 2008 study of traffic in the region of the West Main Street and Park Place intersection conducted by the traffic engineering firm of Barkin and Mess that was raised by concerned citizens at the initial public hearing, and it was argued was refuted by the Commission in conjunction with your deliberations and action on the Village Crossing project. And I will discuss that much further as we proceed this evening, but I'm going to introduce both of those for the record.
Can you clarify that was 2008 was the last traffic study done?
We'll save our questions from the public until
We
later.
asked questions before. I just wanted a clarification of what he said.
That's correct.
Let's
2008.
let him finish the presentation, please.
Okay, good evening. For the record, my name is Brandon Hanfield. I'm a professional engineer licensed in the state of Connecticut. I'm the owner of Yantic River Consultants, LLC, with offices in Lebanon, Connecticut. And there are two maps that I'd like to introduce. I have hard copies, but maybe we can just put them up on the board. The first one is a sightline demonstration.
We're going to need hard copies.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
you can have these.
We will introduce all of these tonight.
Do you have hard copies of what you're going to talk? Because I can't see that far, so I
Absolutely.
really need a hard copy, please, if you have one available.
Sure do. I will try to not block everybody here. I know I'll just throw it over here, if that's okay.
No, we don't have a hand.
You mean you don't have pieces of paper to hand us?
No, we don't have pieces of paper in the packet?
I'm happy to do this one.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Can you see it? Nancy, can you see it okay?
Oh, it's behind us.
Yeah, I can't see that far. I need something up close.
I think we're good now.
Okay, great. So what you have on the 3 screens in the room and the hard copy, this is a sightline demonstration looking left or west from the intersection of Park Place with West Main Street. We went out there and measured it in the field after the last meeting, and we also performed a site plan profile so that you can demonstrate the length that you can see, or the intersection site distance from the existing stop bar looking left. Looking right, there is a much longer site distance that exceeds what we have looking left. In either case, they exceed the minimum requirements for the speeds on the road. So looking left, you have a measured site distance looking in a westerly direction of 570 feet. That 570 feet is measured along the center line of the road, which would be the length of distance that the car has to travel. And you can see in yellow, that's the cone of vision of the person that is stopped at Park Place looking left. So they can see partially around the corner to the right side of the map or to the west. And the far distance there, and let's see if it works on a TV, it usually does not. No, so it will work here. It's that point right there in the center of the eastbound, or the westbound lane, sorry, and I have my east and west backwards, but so the site distance ends at the center of the westbound lane, about across the street of the parking lot for, I believe, Charlie's. And from that point there is 570 feet back to the intersection and the stop bar at Park Place. So this demonstrates that somebody stopped at that stop bar at a height of an eye height of 3.5 feet, can see a vehicle approaching at a height of 3.5 feet, 570 feet away, all the way along the center line to the intersection of Park Place. That 570 feet, I will let Joseph Balska speak more about, but it is somewhere between 50 and 55 miles per hour. So 570 feet is adequate for a speed between 50 and 55 miles per hour. Again, looking left or west, you exceed that 570 feet, so it would be even more, or a higher speed. The posted speed limit, starting right about there, is 35 miles an hour. So right at the parking lot of the Book Barn, it transitions from 25 to 35 miles per hour. And we're dealing in speeds, acceptable speeds of 50 to 55. Approaching from the west, or flowing in the eastbound direction, the speed there is, posted speed is 35 miles per hour. The second exhibit I'll introduce is the turning plan, which is, might be on the back of that one. Yes. Perfect. So what we heard from public comment and concern was the parked cars along Park Place on the easterly shoulder that are along the sidewalk that was recently installed. So what we did to demonstrate how the road looks as those cars are parked there is we added parked cars along the sidewalk. So you can see this is the worst condition, where the entire sidewalk is full of parked cars. Shown in red are the turning movements of a WB-40 vehicle, which is a 40-foot long vehicle with a 25-foot wheelbase and a double rear axle. So it turns very poorly. So we demonstrated that a large truck going north can pass by all those parked cars, can adequately turn onto our site and navigate through our site without encroaching on the curbs or parked cars. So that demonstrates that that vehicle can still turn into our site with those parked cars. The last thing we demonstrate on this map, on the southbound lane, there is still 10 to 12 feet left for southbound traffic to bypass that truck. So we have room for the parked car, we have room for the WB50 driving north and turning into our site, and we have sufficient room for cars flowing south towards the intersection of Park Place and West Main Street.
Let's just, there's one.
Want to do the chart too?
Yeah, get the chart, I'll talk to that.
Okay. The last one is this chart. Would you like a hard copy?
No, I think I'll be good with that. Thank you.
You're welcome. So this chart is a representation of the Barkin and Mess 2008 traffic analysis. Included in their report was a bar chart of hourly traffic as they conducted on August 9th, 2007. It shows the hourly traffic in, it's hard to see, but the blue would be the hourly peak traffic based on, and these are the volumes they witnessed or measured per hour. In red is a DOT station that is immediately to the east of our site, and it's identified as Lyme Station 139, and that demonstrates winter counts. I believe it was February 2006. So the counts performed by Barkin and Mess were in summer of 2007, and the DOT counts were performed in February 2006. The purpose of this bar chart is to show the variation in traffic on 156 between a winter count by the DOT and the summer count by Barkin and Mess, and show you that the peak volumes per hour don't necessarily increase very much, but you do see a higher volume more consistently across every hour, especially as we get to noon and beyond and into the evening. So you can see that the blue summer counts by Barkin and Mess show a higher volume later in the day, but not necessarily a significant increase in the actual amount of traffic per hour.
At this time, I would like to introduce Joseph Balkas, who is the traffic engineer who has done the evaluation of the safety of the intersection, both of the site driveway with Park Place as well as Park Place with West Main Street. We presented his report at the public hearing 2 weeks ago. Based upon information received from the public at that public hearing, we have had him update that report, which he will submit into the record this evening and make his presentation. And I will also submit into the record Mr. Balskas's resume
Thank you.
qualifying him as an expert in traffic engineering.
Thank you.
This is all based on 2008 data? No. So for the record, my name is Joe Balskis. I was asked to bring my CV, and I guess I'll read a little bit from that. Who am I? I've got 37 years of experience in Connecticut doing traffic engineering. I'm with VHB. I direct our Transportation Services Group in Wethersfield. I've been doing these kind of studies for 37 years in Connecticut and Massachusetts. I'm a licensed engineer, licensed professional engineer in Connecticut and New York. I'm also nationally certified as a professional traffic operations engineer since 2001. 25 years now. And I'm also a roadway safety professional, nationally certified, level 1. I was also appointed by the legislature of Connecticut to serve on the Connecticut Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Board. I currently serve as secretary since 2015. I have provided expert testimony for projects throughout Connecticut and Massachusetts for most of my career. I've done hundreds of these studies, like one you have in front of you, for similar projects across Connecticut and Massachusetts. I also, with my experience, about 10 years ago, I started teaching. I'm an adjunct professor at University of New Haven, where I teach traffic engineering and highway engineering for the last 9 years. I also serve as an adjunct at CCSU, first professor on sabbatical, and right now I'm also at University of Hartford, teaching traffic engineering to students in the industry as well. So it's a little bit about me. I also know East Lyme. I don't live here. I'm from central part of Connecticut. I have vacationed in Oswegatchie. I saw Millstone Power Plant being constructed when I was a little kid. I've been in this town for various projects and various things. I was here at the festival last year when the street was closed. So I have a very good understanding of East Lyme. I'm not someone from the town, don't know the town. I do know the town very well, and I know this road very well as well. So with that, I did get involved with the preparation of an addendum to the previous traffic study that was done by my office, by VHB's office in Wethersfield. And there's a couple things that I want to talk about in that memorandum you have in front of you. And I have extra copies too, if someone else wants a copy of it. So the big question was just alluded to here regarding seasonal traffic volumes. We know, obviously, tourism, seasonal traffic volume increase in East Lyme. We know that. I've known it for years. And what level did it increase? We did a traffic counts in January of 2024. Because at the time the project was going forward then, to get the study done, well, we'll do the counts now in January. We recognize that this is not going to be a totally accurate count because it's not seasonal. So project does this, all of a sudden now we're submitting to the town. We don't have that. Comments were made about this, and truthfully, that if we saw there'd be an issue, we would have probably done something about it. But this project is generating very low traffic, so we didn't see it as an issue. So we didn't do any new counts. So meeting happens last week, and there's concerns about seasonal traffic. So what do? We don't have anything. What do? We look and see where's our available data. DOT count was 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago. So we don't have that. So what do? We go to, and it's in the memo here, we go to the DOT's website, and they have the website, and they have the actual continuous count station on I-95 in East Lyme. It's continuously counting traffic. And we found counts from the DOT's 95 counter for January 2022 and August 2022. So we look at, well, that's a good comparison. January counts to August counts. And as engineers, the data is important. What does the data tell us? That's what drives everything, the data. So in the memorandum I submitted to you, you'll see here there's a table showing you the count on 95 in January of 2022 at almost 56,000 vehicles, right, on a daily basis for a Tuesday in January. Tuesday in August was 68,000 vehicles. So clearly 95 is showing, and we all know that. 95 backs up in the summertime. We know it backs into Bowling Bridge sometimes. We know that. We try to avoid that. We know that. That's showing like a 23% increase in traffic on 95 from like a winter time count to summertime count. All right, good number. All right, so we look at that. So we then talk to the DOT about this, and we say, this is what we're trying to do. We have this from 95, and the policy of planning, who we use for guidance for traffic studies. The Office of State Traffic Administration is the authority for major developments in Connecticut. They regulate major developments. This is not a major development. This is under 100 units of residential housing. OSTA, as we call it, do not regulate. They have said that's a low generator. We don't regulate that. That's too low. We don't. Everything else we regulate. 100,000 square feet, 200 parking spaces, over 100 units of housing. They regulate. This they do not. Regardless, we call them and they talk to policy planning, and they said, Joe, use 30%. Okay, based on their data that they have, what I just showed you, as their understanding. 30%. So we took the traffic counts that we did, we grew them by 30%, and redid the analysis. All right? And the analysis for the intersection of Park Place and Main Street didn't change. And it's no surprise, because the volumes increased 30%, but we're talking about very low generation of traffic. If we were talking about a retail pharmacy or a Walmart or something higher generator, a fast food restaurant, a coffee shop, yeah, maybe you might see a change, but there's no change. So the level of service in the peak hours at this intersection, from the counts in the morning, from the counts on a winter day to a summer day, do not change the fact that there's no impact from the traffic volumes. We're talking we're talking about cars that are less than one every two every minute, right? We're talking about 46 cars, I think was what we said. So we're not talking about high generator. You're not going to really notice these cars. So the volumes issue is resolved, all right? We looked at the data we have available, we grew the volumes, we did the analysis, there's no change in the results. Okay? Is there a slight change and some delays? Maybe, yes, maybe there is. But level of service, there's no change. We're not seeing a change, and look at the numbers, you're not seeing a change in terms of something that says there's a problem. When we see level of service changes as an engineer, we look at that. Okay? Further, the crashes. A lot of discussion about crashes. The Yukon repository, which is the preeminent crash repository in the country. They are actually going around the country showing the repository, what we've done at Yukon. So we use that. We've expanded the view. We looked at it different ways. I have my students use it. And if you look at different ways, it gets kind of wonky sometimes. So we did an expanded view in the entire town, we zoomed in on the road, and we found that there's 2 crashes, one at the intersection, one down the street a little bit, and there's more crashes beyond that. But for a traffic study like this, we're looking at the intersection. We're looking at 300 feet or so approaching or departing the intersection. That's what we use. That's what the state uses. That's what OSA uses. So we found 1 crash in 5 years. All right? Angle type crash, someone pulling out, not obeying a stop sign. Okay. We don't look 20 years in the background. We don't look 20 years out. We don't. We're not required to. The state doesn't require that. Can we? Sure we can. If we saw 5 crashes here in 1 year, 3 crashes here in 1 year, we have an issue. And that's, as an engineer, that's our responsibility to identify there's an issue there when you have that many crashes. We don't. We have 1 crash that we found with the repository. If there are other crashes, these are crashes that are up to over $1,000 in property damage and above. Below that, not in the repository for obvious reasons. They're very minor fender benders. So the repository shows that there's not a crash pattern here or a issue here. Further, Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments, all right, that's the Council of Governments that covers East Lyme, has done 2 safety studies in East Lyme. 2. There's one right now underway, and it's called the Draft Winter 2026 CCOG Safety Action Plan. And there's a website. You can Google it right now. They are doing a safety action plan for the entire region, including East Lyme. In that plan, there's nothing, and East Lyme is in there, there's nothing in the plan indicating there's a problem at this intersection, or West Main Street intersection. Number one, and that is a Southeast Council, the town is a member of the Council of Governments. And that's a comprehensive study. Prior to that, CCOG also did the Regional Transportation Safety Plan. And they focused on just the town's roads and crashes and high injury crashes and the network. And they had recommendations for addressing crash problems. There's no recommendations for this intersection. There's recommendations for West Main Street towards Lake Avenue, recommendations towards Roxbury, but there's nothing in that report, and that's online as well, indicating this section of West Main Street is a problem. So you have me as a professional engineer, 37 years experience. I've been doing hundreds of these studies, telling you that there's no pattern here, there's no crash pattern here, number one. You have 2 other reports from experts like me, and the town is part of that, the town was part of those, indicating there's no issue there. So from a crash perspective, regardless of the reports from 20 years ago, 2011, I understand that. I totally understand that, but there's no definitive crash problem at this intersection indicating there's a problem. There is none. And you have 2 reports from Council of Governments, the town is part of that process, And if there was an issue, the town police chief or first selectman would have said, hey, make sure you include this in this report because I want a recommendation to do something there. There's nothing in those reports. And you can find the reports online. Now, Brandon talked about the site distance. So we helped Brandon with the site distance. In the memorandum, there's a couple pictures that we have from when we were out here in 2024 of the sight lines. I've been out here as well, the sight lines as well. And Brandon showed the plan showing the sight line. And what this is called the intersection sight distance. Right? It's a calculation. And what you're trying to do is find out how much distance to the vehicle is coming at you. So when you pull out of Park Place, do you have enough time to make that left turn or the right turn? It's called the acceptable gap. Is there a gap for you to pull out? And that gap is actually calculated. And it's based upon the vehicle speed, and not just the vehicle speed, the design speed of the vehicle, and the distance that vehicle is traveling. And what Brandon measured out there, because we also observed it, 2024, we saw this exceeds what's required. So did we actually measure it? We did measure it, but we didn't document it. So Brandon's actually documented it. And we're showing you, and the figure from the Connecticut DOT's Highway Design Manual, this is on page 6 of the memo, there's a figure showing intersection sight distances. And Brandon measured 570 feet, looking to the left. To the right, you can see 1,000 feet or so. To the left is what we talked about. He measured 570 feet on his plan that he submitted. Highlighted there, that is good for between 50 and 55 miles an hour design speed. What does that mean in terms of actual speed, posted speed? Probably 45, 50 miles an hour. All right? We usually have design speeds 5, 10 miles an hour above the speed limit. So what was measured on a plan, signed by an engineer, I reviewed, and I agree with it, based on what I've seen out there, is that the sight distance, the intersection sight distance from the left turn is ample, is beyond what's needed and what's required. If there was a sight distance problem out there, if there was, let's say if there was, you'd have a crash problem, you would have the police chief on it, you'd have the DOT on it, you'd have it in a recommendation for a report from CCOG saying, hey, there's an issue here, please address that. We don't have that. I've had many projects where I see a crash problem, it's a project, I'll do this, and I'm like, there's a problem here. What do you mean, there's a crash problem here? Well, I go out there, there's a sightline problem. And we have to address it. Regrading, clearing out vegetation. We don't have that here. All right, we have a measured sight distance that is good for 50 to 55 miles an hour. I attached to the memorandum the Brandon's plan. I also attached excerpts from the CCOG reports. So you have those. You can look at those. They show East Lyme. They show recommendations in there. I also attached from both reports, and one is still being done. So, in conclusion, I want to just kind of highlight in conclusion of this effort. I'm just going to read what I wrote here. The Regional Transportation Safety Plan and the ongoing strategic safety action plan exclusion of the intersection suggests there is no indication of a crash pattern at the project intersection, as there is no recommendations in either study for improvements at the intersection. Further, the RTSP recommendations specifically exclude this section of West Main Street. So I looked at to the east, to the west. So if there's a problem here, they would have said something. They would have excluded it. Or the town would have suggested include it. While noting, so there's no recommendations there. The sight distances are good, as I just talked about. There's no crash pattern here. You can look at reports 20 years in the past. You can. You absolutely can. And I'll acknowledge those. You're talking 20 years. We look at crash patterns 3, 5 a year. Unsignalized 3 a year might be an issue. 5 definitely is an issue. We don't have that here. So we have adjusted the seasonal volumes, adjusted the analysis, and we're not seeing a change in level of service. We've looked at the analysis, we've looked at the sight lines and the crash pattern, and in conclusion, this project will not have a significant impact to traffic operations at this intersection.
Mr. Baskis, I have a question.
Sure.
On your report that you gave us, I'll start with this first. It says here 30 to 40 vehicles during peak hours. This project would, generate 30 to 40 vehicles during peak hours. What are peak hours? Who determines that?
That's based upon the adjacent street traffic on 156, Miss Main Street, as well as when the actual generator is generating traffic. Typically, it's the community peak hour. That's what we use because that's the highest volume in the area. Some developments may generate traffic higher later in the morning. In this case, it's the same time. So it's the morning peak hour, we call it the morning rush hour, and the afternoon peak hour. That's what we looked at.
So what hours do you call morning rush hour?
Usually 8 to 9. I'll have to look at the data, but it's somewhere between 7 and 9. I don't have it right in front of me, but it's like 4 to 6,
And
typically we
what's
say.
afternoon?
It's like 4 to 6.
4 to 6.
Yeah.
Do you know how many buses, or if any buses go through there with the?
I don't know. I'm sure there are, and they're included in the traffic counts. If there's buses during the traffic counts in January, they were included in the traffic count.
Okay, earlier you talked about where the accidents occurred and that they were nowhere near this area
There's
here.
one at the intersection.
Right.
We found recently,
Where were
and
they?
there's one that was beyond to the west, probably turning into the retail store that's over there in the corner. So we
Okay,
got two.
so-
So two. I'm saying in my report 2 that we found in 5 years.
Okay, thank you. And I have one more question. When they do the traffic studies and they're using these big vehicles, it talks about the 40 width, or is that, I'm assuming that's what the W is, a 40W.
Oh, the semi-trailers, yeah, that Brandon talked about. Okay.
So is this study based on just those big trucks? Because I didn't see anything about just plain automobiles. I'm just curious as to why. I'm just trying to understand it. The study is just based on, so I'm questioning the visibility, like a tractor
Yeah.
trailer, the visibility is going to be better in my
Absolutely.
opinion, because you're going to
Yes.
see it.
Yes.
So why isn't the study done on cars, just to educate me on?
So that study, that diagram there is for cars, passenger cars. The sight line that Brandon measured there is the actual sight line from 3.5 feet above the ground, and that's for passenger vehicle. I think you may be confused with the diagram he had showing the trucks on Park Place itself.
This one, yes.
Yeah, that's showing trucks on Park Place itself. That's that diagram. Yes.
And if I may, for the record, Harry Heller, that demonstration was done to specifically address a concern that was raised at the last public hearing, that there is book-bond parking on Park Place, and the contention was that that compromised the ability of traffic to safely move from West Main into this site. And that's why Brandon did that analysis, to specifically address that one issue that was raised at the last public hearing, not traffic in general.
So it's your expert opinion that only out of the 60 units that are going to go up there with the project, only 30 to 40 people are going to be traveling
During the peak hour, yes.
during the peak
Correct.
hour? Okay.
And that's not my opinion, that's fact. Right? That's based upon what Office of State Traffic Administration, the state agency, will accept in terms of traffic generation. It's based upon the ITE, the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual, right? And that is used to project traffic. Can we count existing development there? Can we count another development? We certainly can, and I've done that when I've been asked to. It's the same results. Everyone's not leaving the same, 60 units, 60 cars are coming in. No, that's not the case. You can sit out there all day long and watch. You will not get 60 cars coming out of development. You will not. Especially now, work from home. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's really
This
not.
might be a question for Mr. Mulholland. Is Village Crossing built out?
No, there's still a way to go. It's not finished.
Okay.
There'll be a couple of, I don't know how many.
So then we will add to the traffic in that area, and we will add to the traffic not only at the project intersection, but also within Park Place itself.
These volumes are low on Park Place and intersection. So you can add 50 more cars easily. There's reserved capacity there. So I'm just saying that the traffic generation we use is what is accepted by the state of Connecticut, and it's what's been used in the industry for years.
And if I may, again, for the record, Harry Heller, that concern was raised by staff that Village Crossing was not built out. You have 3 traffic reports now. You have the original report prepared by VHB. Then there was a January supplement that was presented at the last meeting.
Retail.
That was specifically to address the full build-out condition of Village Crossing. So those counts for the full build-out are in there.
So the January data is the actual data, correct? Like actual where they did the count, right? And this other thing is just proposed. Your expert opinion says this is about what it's going to generate according to state, all that stuff. But the only one that's really where they've actually gone out there was from 2008. And I just wanted to understand it to make sure I'm understanding it all.
We counted in January of 2024.
Okay, so
And we grew those traffic volumes based upon the DOT's policy and planning, and then we grew them again for the summertime traffic, right, 30%. And then we included also the build-out that Harry was just talking about. So these are all in, these volumes are all in terms of what is going to happen in Park Place for a summertime condition. Are they summertime counts? No, but they're conservatively estimated and grown 30% from a wintertime condition to a summertime condition.
okay, I have another question about that, just to educate me a little bit on this. Why would they not do the survey instead of January? Why wouldn't they not do it in the summertime, considering we are a coastal community?
Agreed. It's a project schedule. It happens all the time. Project schedule. This is happening then. Want to submit, and that's what you have to comply with.
Thank you very
And
much.
and if I may just add to that, again, for the record, Harry Heller, the study was done in 2024 because we anticipated being before your commission much earlier than this application. As you're aware, we were held up before the Water and Sewer Commission with respect to the sewer allocation for this project. That was denied. We appealed. That was eventually resolved. But that's why you have the delay from the January 2024 counts until we actually submitted this application.
By any chance, do you happen to know what the population was in 2008 of East Lyme versus what it is now? How much we've grown? Do you have those stats?
I'm sure
By
you
any
can
chance?
find
I'm
that.
just curious.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure you can find it. But it's you can look at that, but the data on 95 is good data to use.
Yep.
It really is. And we think it's conservative. We think it's actually probably higher. It's more than what you're going to see for growth on West Main Street. We think that. But we wanted to we go conservative, we go high. Also, the intersection itself, we don't see it as a problem-ish intersection for capacity. If we did see that, then we'd say, maybe we should get out there, do some updated counts in the summertime, and look at this a little closer in terms of the projection of population and what's out there. We don't see that as this being a problem intersection that required additional attention.
Because it's at 30%.
30%.
Okay, but
yeah.
if you did it, if let's just say, for instance, if it was 40%, then you'd have to take some and look at it differently, right? And do something.
I am comfortable saying that we can grow the volumes by 40% at least, maybe even 50%, that you won't see an impact from this. Right?
Okay.
There's reserve capacity at, you have level service C, A, and F. We know F's the worst. Middle of the road, we're not changing it. Is that great? Well, it's not bad. It's not bad, actually. And so we're not changing that. We're not impacting that. So that's why I'm able to stand here and say, this is a low generator. This is why OSTA does not look at 99 unit developments and below. And they don't, because they recognize it's what we call a low generator. They're not generating a lot of traffic. 60 cars an hour is one car. So let's say I was saying 60 cars an hour. All right, that's 30 in, 30 or 40 out and 20 in. All right, that's one car a minute. One car a minute. You're not even going to see that. So we're not talking a lot of traffic, right? If we're talking a Dunkin' Donuts or a drive-through at 200 to 400 an hour, you're a whole different animal. Absolutely. This is not that. This is not that.
How many levels are there with the? You said it's a level.
Level service from A to F, and it's based upon the vehicle, the delays per vehicle at the intersection over the course of the hour.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do days of the week have an effect on the results of the traffic studies? Is there a preferred day of the week?
We do not do counts on Mondays or Fridays anymore. We do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, because most people are hybrid working. All right, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we don't do Mondays and Fridays, unless it's a retail development. Then if it's a retail development, we will do a Friday afternoon and a Saturday midday. But a residential development, we will do usually a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And if a town or city says, well, you know what, Joe, we hear you, but do it on a Monday as well, because we're going to, and there's no data, we'll do it. We'll do it. I don't see a need for it. What I've been seeing around the state of Connecticut for traffic counts, the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you drive, you see it on the highways. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are busier on the highways than Mondays and Fridays. That's what we're seeing. That's fact.
So are all these dates a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, like even the highway dates? I
Yes,
don't-
we picked a Tuesday, yes. We picked a Tuesday from the DOT's 95 data, Tuesday in January to Tuesday in August. August is a busier month than July. That's my understanding, that's what I've always seen here, and so we picked that. And to give us a comparison of what is a winter month traffic volume versus summer month traffic volume, and pick that day of the week.
Okay, thank you.
All right?
Go ahead.
Mr. Mulholland, oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Mulholland, could you tell me in that area that's over there, what is, because I don't have it in front of me, what is the zoning for that area? What's it?
Sorry, I kind of think of.
This, this road here, what is the road?
Got an apple there, and I have to take a look and make sure because it's,
Yeah,
40/20.
40/20?
40/20, so it's already 40.
Are you 40? Thank you.
It was changed in 1973 from a half-acre R20 to an upzone to R40.
When the map was up that showed the orange and red lines coming and going from, it was previous to this, I thought I heard someone say a 40-foot truck could make the turn without impacting the next lane.
I think that was
get in
a
and
Park
out of
Place.
the-
It was Park Place.
That one.
This one here? Yes. I'm sorry, go.
So, did I hear right, 40-foot truck?
The truck is 40 feet, 39 and a half feet long, and the
So-
wheelbase is 25.
Moving vans are 53 feet.
That's correct.
So, do moving vans, can they make the curve without impacting the traffic that could be stopped at that?
So the width
intersection?
of the vehicle itself would not change very much. What would happen on the curve, so on the gentle curve of Park Place, on the road, the width of the vehicle would not change much from the WB40. It's still a tractor trailer up front, just a different rear. The turning may extend
Turning
slightly
radius.
into our site, which can still make it onto our site. So the purpose of this demonstration was specific to the comment that we received that when cars are parked along the sidewalk for the book barn or other uses, the road is restricted. We wanted to look at that. And that's what we demonstrated here is if the entire sidewalk is parked with cars along it with adequate space on the curb side and on the mirror side or the driver's side, a large truck can drive towards our site, garbage truck, fire truck, can drive towards our site, turn onto our site, and there's still adequate lane width going in a southbound direction for passenger vehicles coming from Village Crossing or the residences at the end of the road to make it past that truck. So we have a 10 to 12 foot lane width remaining with a truck and parked cars.
I'm not concerned about the parked cars. I'm concerned about a car at the intersection of Park Place and the project driveway. Is there enough room, because that 53-foot truck has a turning radius, can he make it without hitting a car parked wanting to turn right to get out of the development?
So traveling westbound on Main Street, West Main, and turning right into Park Place.
No.
I'm sorry.
I want to be able to get that tractor trailer into this development from Park Place without impacting the southern lane. There's a south and a north lane. Truck's got to go from Park Place, make the turn with all of his gear and wheels without impacting a car stopped.
So on the site, exiting our site.
Yes.
So that truck would cross over the center line of our driveway, absolutely. We don't design residential driveways to handle commercial truck traffic. So I would have to reference the DOT highway manual, but a commercial site driveway, you're required to use an SU-30 as a turning movement, and in that case, they don't follow the center line of the road itself. And there's a check vehicle, I believe it's a W40? 50. So there is a check vehicle for a commercial driveway. For a residential driveway, We don't look at tractor trailer trucks accessing those driveways and making sure they function adequately without going over the center line for a tractor trailer. We don't do that. They're very infrequent vehicles. If it is a moving vehicle, it's once every time a resident moves in or moves out. So we're looking at a vehicle that would likely be more common. Again, possibly a garbage truck or a fire truck. I won't say a fire truck will be common, but the tractor trailer truck would just not be a reasonable way to design a residential driveway.
Does the commission have any more questions for either of all three presenters?
I
If
have one more.
Okay.
So your 30% increase in traffic, the estimate, it seems reasonable and it's a very easy conclusion. But I think about oftentimes during the summer when I'm driving on the highway and there's traffic, I will get off the Rocky Neck Connector, I will go down that road, down West Main Street to get to where I need to go, or I'll go down Route 1. Those are the two roads that people use. Does your 30% account for those occurrences? So the 30% is like a very easy number to get to, but I feel like there's more circumstances that should be built into that number when it comes to summer traffic because of the increase, not just by people who live there or visit, but people just traveling to get northbound or southbound going through East Lyme. Does that 30, in your opinion, does that count?
It's a good question because, are we seeing traffic in East Lyme, Niantic growing by that much in summertime? I'll make the analogy to New Haven, all right, and Yale University. When we do well with New Haven, when the university goes out, we see traffic volumes drop 30% right off the bat. We know that. So in terms of your question about alternate routes to avoid the backups on 95, when they finish the 95 project, it's going to be better, right? So.
In theory.
Well, yes, they're changing the whole ramp system. We actually reviewed that with the contractor. So they're changing the ramp system. So you're going to have better flow through that area, without a doubt, with the reconstruction of 95.
I disagree because you still can't get onto 395.
That's a whole Route 11 another issue. No, it's a whole different issue. So, but the intent, design of the highway is to provide more throughput on 95. So to your point, I think what's going to happen, if that is happening, and I'm sure it does, or on Society Road as well, do we account for that 30%? Again, we're trying to find, without actually having a count, in summertime at West Main Street, we're using some assumptions. We're using guidance from 95 and from the DOT. I don't know how much traffic you could attribute to making that maneuver, but I will say I think that the 95 project will make the throughput better through that section because they are fixing the ramps, they're fixing that, and you're going through Route 1 into Waterford, and I think that is going to make it better. Will that detract from the cut-throughs, if you will, going around it? I don't know, but I think 30% is a very good number. Could it be 40%? We didn't do 40%. We were thinking about it. This does work with 40%. This analysis, this intersection does work with 40% meeting impacts. You go beyond that, 100%, Joe, what's going to happen there? Well, yeah, you're going to start seeing some change, some level of service impacts as a result of that. Because obviously you've got, uncontrolled flow, and you're trying to get out of there. Your gap is now getting smaller. As more volume comes, your gap is now smaller, and you're trying to get out of there. And it becomes more difficult. At some point, you may need a traffic signal. All right, that's what happens. You go from or a roundabout, let's say, but you have those gaps are reduced because you have more traffic on the road itself. We are confident that you can do 40% increase and you'll be fine. Can it be more than that? It could be. There might be some impacts in terms of maybe some more queuing as a result, but we are definitely confident with DOT's guidance as well. 30% and even 40% will work at this intersection. So. Hope that answers your question. Okay, it's kind of without having actual data like that, and you need to do like a license plate survey. Who's coming up the ramp here? Who's coming through? That's more of a regional study that would be done for like CCOG would do for a larger project in order to kind of estimate that.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll go to the public now.
I'm not nailing it.
Okay, all right, come back up.
Again, for the record, Harry Heller. If we could put the comparison study back up from Barkin and Mess's counts and the winter counts from 2006. the bar graph. The purpose of doing this analysis was to support the assumptions that VHB made in their traffic analysis and that Joe just discussed. The raw numbers in this bar graph mean nothing. What this bar graph is designed to show is that during the peak hours, and in different locations, the peak hour may be different because it's measured by the use of that highway system during the period of time where that location in the highway system is under the greatest amount of stress from traffic. So in some places, downtown Groton, when people are going to work at Electric Boat, it may be 6:30 to 7:30 in the morning. Other places, it's 8 to 9. But in every location, you have a morning peak hour and an afternoon peak hour when that traffic location is under the greatest stress from volume. So the purpose of this analysis was not to look at the raw numbers, but to look at what happens by way of comparison from summer to winter, which should not change tremendously from 2008 to 2026, even though the raw numbers may change. And what this shows is that there is no significant difference in the summer to winter peak hour traffic. What it does show, particularly with respect to the afternoon peak, is an elongation of that peak. In other words, instead of having a 1 hour peak, you have a 3 or 4 hour peak. And that is perfectly understandable because what's happening, what's the difference between summer and winter? You have snowbirds who come back to East Lyme, and you have vacationers in East Lyme who are using the highway system. And that is the attribute of the increase in traffic from winter to summer. And are they up at 7 or 8 in the morning? Not many of them, because they're not going to work. But you can see from noon to 7 o'clock at night, that peak is elongated. So the overall volume in the highway system increases significantly, but it does not increase significantly over the stress test, which is the peak hour analysis, because the traffic engineers are evaluating that peak hour. If it works at the peak hour, it's going to work at all other hours. So that's the purpose of that analysis. It's not for the raw numbers. The most relevant raw numbers are the 2024 counts.
Attorney Howard, can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
This is an affordable 830G. The other gentleman stated that most of the people are working from home, but the 830G, these people can't work from home. We've already decided they're nurses, they're firemen, they're policemen for affordable housing. They're not going to be able to work from home doing those jobs.
We're not talking apples and apples. I'm talking about the background traffic, not the project-generated traffic. So the background traffic and how we determine the peak and how that peak changes between summer and winter. Mr. Bauskas testified that the trip generation for the project itself, which are the numbers contained in the report, if you look at the October 24, 2025 report, you have 34 vehicle trips in the morning peak hour. That's 10 entering and 24 exiting. And you have 36 vehicle trips in the afternoon peak hour. That's 21 entering and 15 exiting. Those numbers come from the Institute of Traffic Engineers trip generation manual for the use, which in this case would be residential. Now, the other point I want to talk about, and then I'll stop with traffic, is your charge in evaluating the 830G application is to determine whether or not there is a safety issue at this intersection that necessitates you denying this application. And when we look at intersection safety, there are 3 parameters that you're evaluating that can affect safety. The geometric design of the intersection, vertical and horizontal geometry. And this is a relatively flat intersection area. You don't have any significant grade. And the intersection of Park Place with West Main Street is close to 90 degrees. So you don't have an acute angle intersection that could compromise intersection design. The second parameter is the sight line. And you heard the testimony concerning the intersection sight distance. It's 570 feet to the east. It's nearly 1,000 feet to the west. Both professionals testified that there is more than adequate intersection sight distance at that intersection. And the third consideration that can affect traffic safety at the intersection is volume. And volume is expressed in a couple of ways by traffic engineers. It's expressed by the level of service, which we've talked about a lot in this proceeding, that this intersection currently, with respect to one movement and one movement only, that movement is the vehicle exiting Park Place during the peak hour and making a turning movement left or right onto West Main Street, because in a single lane intersection, they don't evaluate the 2 movements separately. So that is the only movement that is at level of service C. If you look at the table in each of the traffic reports, you will see that all of the turning movements at that intersection are operating both before the project and with summertime counts hypothecated and site-generated traffic added, either at level of service A or B. But I want to call your attention to another statistic that's embedded in the report. If you look at Table 2 on page 3 of the February 5, 2026 supplement to the traffic report, you'll see a category V/C, which is the volume to capacity ratio for the critical movement. And if you go back to the October 2025 report, it explains volume to capacity ratio. But volume to capacity ratio is a measure of what volume that intersection can function at and still operate versus what the current and projected capacity is. And if you look in the 2025 existing conditions for that turning movement, that southbound turning movement out of Park Place, it's at 6.4%. At the 2030 revised build counts, it is at 15.3%. At 2030, with the summer growth build added, it's at 17.1%. So with the summer traffic added, with the project generated traffic added, this intersection is still functioning at 17.1% of its capacity. And that just justifies what Joe Balkas testified, that OSTA doesn't even require an analysis of projects under 100 units because they are not major traffic generators. The next item I would like to address, there were discussions about the density of this project, and that it is more dense than some of the other projects in the town of East Lyme. At the public hearing 2 weeks ago, I put into the record testimony concerning several of the other multifamily projects in town that are as dense or more dense than this project. But when we talk about density in an 830G application, where your charge is to evaluate safety and health, what we're talking about is relevant density, not mathematic density, because the density itself of the project has to implicate one of those health or safety factors that you are entitled to evaluate under an 830G application. What are those? Well, certainly density can implicate the ability for emergency vehicles to reach an emergency on the site. If the density increases impervious area on the site to the extent that it creates stormwater management conditions and flooding, those are permissible matters for your consideration because their density is impacting parameters that you, in your evaluation of the application, are entitled to consider. In this case, last meeting, you heard the testimony of Brandon Hanfield of how the stormwater management system has been designed. And in fact, in all design storm events, the peak rate of runoff is being decreased for the project, and up to the, is it 2-inch storm, Brandon? Or almost 3-inch rainfall event, they are actually retaining all of the site-generated water on site. So I think it's self-evident that the way this project has been designed, there are no stormwater runoff issues that implicate health and safety. With respect to access for emergency equipment, the revised plan provides an emergency access to the site, and the project has been designed, as Brandon indicated, that we can get a WB-40 into that site. Certainly, all of your emergency equipment in the town of East Lyme moves better through a highway system than the WB-40 does. So we would submit to you that the density of this proposed project does not implicate any health or safety issues that the commission is legally able to consider in an 830G application.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Would you review for me, please, the projects that are more dense than this?
Well, again, we're talking about relative density. So density that implicates the health and safety factors that you're legally able to consider. In doing that, my client's project at Bride Lake has a relevant density greater than this. We have 100 units on about 8.3 acres of developed land. The land in the back against 95 that's on the other side of the wetland system, that's not relevant density because it doesn't implicate the health and safety factors. The other projects that I mentioned the last time were Bay Point which has a density of 0.35 of an acre per unit. This project has a density of about 1 unit per 11.6 acres. Seaside has 1 unit per 0.05 of an acre. The AHIPA project has a density of 1 unit per 0.08 of an acre, and Sea Spray has a density of 1 unit for 0.0841 acres. So all of those projects have greater relevant density than this project has.
Thank you.
There was a claim at the last public hearing that the stormwater report prepared by Yantic River Consultants does not address changes in climatic conditions. I totally disagree with that. Until last year, stormwater management was evaluated under the parameters contained in the 2004 Stormwater Manual promulgated by the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. In the early 2020s, it was recognized that climatic conditions had changed and the manual's parameters for evaluation needed to change. And as a result of that, DEEP published the 2023 Stormwater Quality Manual, which increased significantly the parameters that had to be evaluated and changed the parameters of the design storm events to reflect current climatic conditions. And this application, by law, has been designed in accordance with the 2023 Stormwater Quality Manual. So it adheres to the most current standards that have been enacted by DEEP. Now, in acting on this application, there are specific areas of the law that have been identified by appellate jurisprudence in the state of Connecticut that require expert evidence because they are what are called technically complex matters. And technically complex matters are traffic. They are, in the wetland context, evaluation of impacts, adverse impacts to wetlands and watercourses. They are geotechnical considerations. And unless, and stormwater engineering. Unless someone on the commission has documented expertise in those areas of evaluation that require expert evidence because they have been deemed technically complex issues, you do not have the ability to disagree with a consensus of the expert opinions, because there is no basis in the record, if there is a consensus of expert opinions, to contradict the conclusions of those experts. And I refer you to a case, Sunwood Development Corporation. It's a 2025 case decided by Judge O'Hanlon in the Land Use Court, in which it was opined that traffic engineering is a specialty requiring technical expertise.
So, excuse me, you're just being a little bit insulting. Are you assuming that we're just stupid and have no expertise in anything?
I'm not intending to be insulting at all. I'm simply intending to recite to you, and you have staff, you have an attorney, you can consult with them in your deliberations. I'm reciting what the Connecticut law says. And what it says is that if there are technically complex issues, the evaluation of those technically complex issues requires expert evidence. If you have experts who present testimony in the proceeding before you that differ from each other, then you, as the zoning board, are the evaluator of the evidence, and you have to make a determination as to what is most believable. But if there is a consensus of the experts, you must follow that consensus on technically complex issues.
Well, while I will agree with that, I will say to you that our job, because we are elected by the people of this town, is to tear all this to shreds, because there are inconsistencies with what was presented to us and what you're talking about now.
Well, when you say there were inconsistencies, this is an administrative process. When we submit an application, it is reviewed by staff. We get comments from staff with matters of concern that they've raised in their professional evaluation of the plans. We have a public hearing process. We hear the testimony of the public through that process. And it's an iterative process. Through that process, we make changes to the proposal in order to address those concerns that have been raised. What you act on is the final revisions of those plans and those reports as they exist in your administrative record at the time that the public hearing is closed and you begin your deliberations. Now,
And can we take a break?
I have about 10 more minutes.
We might take a couple-minute break after your presentation
Sure.
and then go to the public. Thank you.
At the last meeting, it was raised the fact that the Village Crossing project was denied by your commission based on a determination that there were significant traffic issues with respect to the project, and that those issues could not be addressed through reasonable modifications of the plan. That decision was appealed, and there was no judicial determination on the appeal. That matter was settled, and it was settled because, in my opinion, your attorneys realized that there was a likelihood that there was not sufficient evidence in the record to justify the denial. And I say that based not on the fact that I attended the public hearing, because I didn't, but I did review the minutes of all of the meetings, and the minutes seem relatively complete. And based on my evaluation of the information that was in the minutes, I think it was reasonably likely that your counsel had concerns that that decision could be supported. But in any event, it is not precedent, because it was appealed and there was a settlement reached that resulted in a different outcome. And just as a matter of statistics, in your concern about affordable housing and your evaluation of these applications, you're not alone. A great number of affordable housing applications are denied at the municipal level. Since the Affordable Housing Appeals Act has been enacted in the state of Connecticut, somewhere between 70 and 80% of those denials have been reversed by the court on appeal. There was discussion about traffic bypassing the construction on Route 95, resulting in additional traffic load on Route 156. I don't know whether that's fact or fiction, but in any event, the scheduled completion of the Route 95 reconstruction project is the spring of 2027, which will be before the first units in this project are ever completed. So I believe that that's a non-issue. There was a claim that the water and sewer allocation granted by the Municipal Water and Sewer Commission did not reflect the same plans that we're presenting to your commission. That's just factually wrong. What we presented to the Water and Sewer Commission is exactly what we're presenting to you, and that is 60 two-bedroom units. There was comments about loss of habitat and loss of wooded area and archaeological concerns about archaeological artifacts on the property. Those are matters that are not within your permitting jurisdiction on an 830G application. The economics of the project are irrelevant. The legislature has determined that there is a pressing need for affordable housing in the state of Connecticut, and until a municipality either reaches its 10% threshold, where it is no longer subject to the Affordable Housing Appeals Act, or a moratorium is granted, then you are subject to the Act, and you have to evaluate the project not based on its economics, but rather based on whether or not there are public health and safety concerns, and whether or not it satisfies the empirical parameters for an 830G application, that it has covenants for 40 years, that it is affordable for people spending not more than 30% of their household income for housing at the 60% of median income level and the 80% of median income level. And those are the parameters that are contained in the affordability plan that's been submitted with the application and that the project has to comply with. When a court conducts judicial review of an affordable housing denial, it must determine that the record contains sufficient evidence as to a quantifiable probability that specific harm will result if the application is granted. Mere concerns alone do not amount to sufficient evidence to support the denial of an affordable housing application under 830G. I would submit to you that the testimony and evidence that's been presented into this proceeding clearly demonstrates that there are no issues that the Commission is legally entitled to consider that form a basis for the denial of this application based on health or safety factors or other matters that the Commission may legally consider. That concludes my presentation. I'll be glad to address any questions you may have.
Thank you. Unless we have any more questions, I'd say we take a 2 or 3 minute break.
Yes.
The mics are hot.
I don't know, that's a question you can
Hi.
ask when you get up there. I can't answer,
Okay.
I'm so sorry, I can't answer that for you, because this is a hearing, you have to.
We're going to continue now with the public hearing.
You have to-
Everybody,
You have to do it in the course of the meeting.
excuse me. Let's continue now, it's getting late. We're going to, because of the crowd size tonight, and I'm sure you all want to talk, and the time, we're going to ask people to contain their comments to 3 minutes. We brought a timer tonight to be fair to everyone. First, we're going to ask for members of the public that have something to say in favor of the project that have not yet spoken. Is there anyone here in favor of the project that did not speak last meeting? Is there anyone here in favor of the project that did speak last meeting but didn't get a chance to give all their points? No. Okay. Next, we'll go to those who want to speak against the project. And we will start. We have 4 pieces of correspondence we need to read into the record. But I'm going to ask that these be timed also to be fair. And this is correspondence received up to about 3:45 today. There may have been more after that, but this is what we have so far. I'll read the first one. It was addressed to our recording secretary. Hi, Mrs. Sutherland. I know there's another meeting concerning the potential new complex, and since I am unable to attend, I just wanted to take a few minutes to voice my concerns. I live at 21 Village Crossing, and I'm concerned about the traffic in that area, especially getting onto 156. Turning left out of Park Place, especially in the summer, is already a nightmare. The potential of an additional 60 to 120 cars trying to navigate that area can only make that worse. Thank you for listening, Maria Lasco. The second one, to the members of the zoning board. My name is Carly Krasavage. I hope I didn't savage your last name. And I reside at 27 Village Crossing of Niantic. I am writing to express my opposition to the proposed new development, Parker's Place, located on Park Place. While I understand the town's interest in growth in affordable housing, I am deeply concerned about the significant and unavoidable traffic issues this project would create, particularly during the summer busy hours. Our community already experiences congestion on the affected roadway, which is in a narrow road that cannot safely accommodate increased vehicle volume. Business activity, i.e. the book barn in the area, frequently occupies one lane, effectively reducing the roadway to a single usable lane for through traffic. This has created ongoing safety challenges for drivers, pedestrians, and residents. The proposed development would only intensify these problems. During the summer season, when population numbers sharply increase, the current traffic pattern is difficult to manage. Introducing up to 120 more vehicles from this project would likely lead to increase in unsafe driving conditions, delayed emergency vehicle access due to traffic backed up, and substantial frustration for year-round residents due to increased traffic pattern. For instance, when taking a left-hand turn out of Park Place during the summer, traffic from the intersection of 156, East Patagonia, and Black Point Road is often backed up to Park Place or even further down Route 156, making it difficult for residents of Park Place to exit onto 156. Furthermore, the area lacks sidewalks or safe pedestrian pathways leading into town. Increased traffic without the infrastructure to protect pedestrians poses a serious hazard, especially for families, children, and seasonal visitors who frequently walk this area. I would also like the committee to recall the original proposal for Village Crossing, which sought approval for 100 units. This was ultimately denied and reduced to 66 units due to significant safety concerns in 2011. The newly proposed Parker Place development would exceed the formerly rejected unit count by approximately 20%, further intensifying the very concern that led to the denial of the original Village Crossing proposal. For these reasons, I respectfully request that the zoning board deny or at minimum postpone approval of this development until a thorough traffic impact study is completed during peak population summer months and meaningful infrastructure improvements such as adequate lane capacity and pedestrian sidewalks are planned and implemented. Thank you for your time, consideration, and dedication to the safety and well-being of our community. Sincerely, Carly Krasavage? Okay.
Do you want me to read the next one from
Yes.
Michelle and read this one? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Dear Mr.
She's got it.
I have it, yeah. Dear Mr. Mulholland, as stated in our letter submitted at the 1/21/26 zoning meeting, we are writing as concerned residents of Village Crossing Number 16 in Niantic, Connecticut, to respectfully express our opposition to the zoning changes required to accommodate the proposed Parker's Place LLC affordable housing development that would allow for the development of 60 affordable two-bedroom housing units to be built by Paz Construction, Jason Pizzaglia, owner. As noted in our last submission, while we understand the need for thoughtful housing solutions, we also understand the tremendous financial benefits afforded to builders of low-income units as a result of new state legislation which also prohibits municipalities in having the final say in the type of housing that their tax-paying residents envision for their town, instead favoring the viewpoint and evidence of the builder, such as the traffic studies provided by consultants hired by the builder. The timing of such approvals is also critical for the builders. An article from the day dated 1/30/26 stated that East Lyme is now a 6 to 7% low-income housing, with some being built in Mr. Pizzaglia's current projected located in North Bridebrook Road, which are also rentals, and some located in Village Crossing, which are owned. The article also states that the threshold for low-income housing in municipalities is 10%, and any units added after that would not be eligible for generous state benefits. The Day article also notes that Jason Pizzaglia and his attorney defeated the town of East Lyme when the town rejected Mr. Pizzaglia's request for the sewer access for the proposed project, and a judge ordered that the town will need to grant 8,000 gallons of sewer use per day to accommodate Mr. Pizzaglia's proposed project, seemingly at town expense in the town that has just an increase in property taxes. All of this is to provide only 18 individuals or families access to reduced rents based on their income, while collecting market value rents on the 42 other proposed units. I also have a question about the project regarding water usage. I believe at first there was to be both 1 and 2 bedroom units that were being proposed. Now all are 2 bedroom units. Is that correct? So do we know that the 8,000 gallons is adequate for all 2-bedroom units? And do we know how much that will cost the town of East Lyme? The traffic report provided to Brandon Hanfield of Yannick River Consultants by William Kresick was dated 10/24/25, and it noted that there were to be no significant traffic issues associated with the proposed project. It's not clear when the data was gathered, but as a person who lives in Village Crossing, I can state firsthand that there are already significant and potentially catastrophic traffic issues on Park Place. It is unsafe to add any more traffic to a very narrow road, which is already an accident waiting to happen. I've had to stop many times for adults and children who are unfamiliar with the area, eager to get to the book barn as they cross in front of the moving car. There are cars parked on the side of the road with open doors as parents buckle infants into car seats as their older children run around and adults gather in the road having conversations. Besides summer traffic on 156, they can sometimes be backed up to Rocky Nut State Park with no traffic light affording...
Okay, thank you. That's our 3 minutes.
Mr. Brubaker's as well?
Yes, and he's here tonight, so you have additional points from last week, so I would ask if you want to just go over the new points you have this week. It'd be better for you than us to read it, yeah?
Thank you. I can definitely save us some time. I'll skip a lot of this. Some of it was covered, some of it was covered last week. Crash history. In the report by VHB, they specify in the crash history section that VHB conducted a review of the CTCDR for the most recent 3 years of crash data collected between January 2021 and December 2024. That's 3 years. The system that they used has 29 years of data. There were no crashes reported near the study intersection of West Main Street and Park Place, is what they reported. Today they've told us that they tried again. The expert tells us that he brought in his students to try again. And with his students' help, they found that there were accidents during the time that they should have been studying, the 3 years that they'd already reported to us. I also used the CTCDR. I should probably be considered a student. I spent 30 minutes on it after making my account the other night. In that time, I also found reports that were not reported in the initial study or in the addendum they submitted at the last hearing. I've added that for your consideration in here as several attachments. I found 9 accidents in the 29 years that the CTCDR covers. It covers 2 databases, both maintained by the state between 1995 and 2014, and between 2015 and now. It is one database that houses 2 databases. We've been told that it should be considered the absolute best of the best, and that everyone throughout the country uses it as a standard of what it should be considered excellent. So I dug further. As I shared last time, there was an accident that occurred to my family. We also know that Catherine Marion shared an accident that wasn't reported initially in the study from VHB that cited CTCDR. Both of these were recorded by the state. I have a state report from the accident that occurred to my parents in 2011, and I'd like to share a quick excerpt from it. Please note that this occurred 200 feet west of CT 156 at the entrance to Village Pizza. That's within 200 feet. I mean, we talked about stopping distance and sight lines, well within safe stopping distance and sight lines. Also note that this is a 35 mile per hour speed zone. It took 3 addendums before VHB realized that it was a 35 mile per hour speed limit zone, not a 25 mile per hour speed limit zone. Here's what was reported. Both Vehicle 1 and Vehicle 2, a boom truck from CLNP, were traveling west on West Main Street. Vehicle 1 was slowing to make a right turn into Village Pizza when it was struck from behind by Vehicle 2. The force of the collision caused Vehicle 1 to leave the travel portion of the roadway, entered the parking lot of Village Pizza, and flipped onto the driver's side, slid across the entrance of the parking lot before coming to rest upright. On arrival, EMS was attending to Operator 1 and the passenger in his vehicle. Both were later transported via ambulance to L&M Hospital with complaints of head, neck, and back pain. Operator 1 stated that he was making a left turn when he was struck from behind. All that he remembers is glass and dirt coming into the passenger compartment of the vehicle. Operator 2, who claimed no injury, stated that he was traveling west on Route 156 when the sun got in his eyes.
We do have your report that we can read. So, thank you.
3 minutes is not enough.
Who else is here tonight that would like to speak against the project? Yes, sir, come on up. Yeah.
I just had a couple of questions. I will back up this information.
We need your name and address,
Randy White.
and we need you to come to the
Sorry.
podium. Thank you.
You got it. My name is Randy White, and we live at 41 West Main Street, so we're very familiar with there, and I've heard multiple accidents that he talks about because I'm out there all summer long. One of the biggest questions I have is they're talking about a highway report on a Tuesday night. Anybody that lives in this area knows it's Fridays and Sundays. It has Tuesday traffic bump is not big. It is in Fridays and Saturdays. Those are the days that back up. Every Friday we get a backup on 156. It's just part of, when we say first day of summer, there we go, having nothing to do with any construction project on the highway at all. This has been, most of your accidents happen in 71 to 73. 156 is now backed up all the way to the highway. So I think that's an unfair estimation, especially when you're talking about a 19-year-old report. Because the other thing, downtown Niantic in 2006, we had a downtown store down there. It was empty. There was no stores down there. Now it's absolutely booming. So you cannot compare the traffic of then to the traffic of now. Because downtown in Niantic on Friday night is every parking spot is taken, every parking spot on the road is taken. It's a whole different world. So you can't compare one to the other. And my biggest issue, and one that I've not seen, is coming out of Park Place, you come up over the hill, the sight line between the top of that hill and the entrance to his project is very tight. No one's discussed what the stopping distance is there. You're going to have people coming up over that hill not having time to stop as these cars pull out of there. There is not enough of a sight line. There is a significant height difference also. So as I'm clearing at 3.5 feet, it's going to be quite a while before I get over the hill, before I can see this way. Most of the time I'm looking up this way. I'm not going to see a car down below. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. I believe there's somebody else.
Yes.
Yeah, come on up.
Good evening, Commissioner. Mike Raxness, 11 Village Crossing. Okay, so talking about Route 156 and the sight line and the intersection to Park Place, Attorney Heller stated that it's nearly perpendicular and maybe geometry-wise, maybe right at the intersection it is, but just to the west of that, you're coming around the Book Barn, it's a curve. So it really feels like an acute angle to make that right-hand turn. Also, cars with their turn signals on, their right turn signals on, heading west on Route 156, you can't assume that they're turning on to Park Place because more than likely they're going to the package store. So you have to, it's local knowledge now for some of the residents to just ignore some of the turn signals because otherwise, and then speaking of which, we haven't really talked about the package store much, but somebody brought it up the last meeting, that there's really 4 ways in and out of that set of stores, including the taco store, including the back parking lot. Cars jump the intersection by cutting through the parking lot. The school bus stops right at the intersection of Park Place and Route 156 on the south or the west corner. Cars will cut through to get ahead of the school bus in the mornings. I've seen it. Also, contractors coming out of the package store with nips are coming out of that parking lot. It really is Wild West. And actually, I'd like to do a quick traffic study myself. Is anybody nervous about making a left onto Route 156 from Park Place at any time of the day? Raise your hand. What's that? Yeah. So I know, you could look on a piece of paper and say, or you could look at some of these statistics, but anybody who's ever regularly made that turn. And finally, I'm going to say, I'm retired now. I walk that area almost every day. I see Randy in the morning. The children go to the school bus. They use the sidewalk to nowhere on the right-hand side, but they don't cross over to the left-hand side to walk along the book barn because they would have to cross again to pick up the bus. It's too dangerous. So they stay on that side. And again, the concern is there is a sidewalk. I know that the sidewalks where you're supposed to cross are just north of this intersection, but you realize that the children will now have to cross from that sidewalk. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Can I
thank
ask
you.
a quick question?
Yes.
The school buses, do they go down Park Place?
Some of them go down for probably the special needs children, and there's like a short bus, but the full-size buses stop at the intersection right where that parking lot is to enter where the package store is.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Who else would like to, yes, sir?
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is David Cornell. I live at 18 Village Crossing.
Hi, I'm Tess Teeter, 18 Village Crossing.
So my concern is the traffic pattern there is, I just think, horrendous on Park Place entering into 156. I think the line of sight that he demonstrated was wonderful, but that was on Park Place coming out of the proposed constructive complex. It's not the line of sight going on 156 from Park Place. To the west, yeah, there's a straight line of sight. To the left, as everybody's been testifying, there's a bend around Book Barn, and I literally almost got hit by a car today. And also, that was this morning. This evening, a car was coming down 156 from the east going west around the Book Barn. A car is coming out the storage package store parking lot, and I was going to turn right, and so I let one car pass. That other guy pulled out and almost hit him. It's a very convoluted area. But I think, and we think, that there should be a study of traffic at this particular intersection or Park Place on 156, especially during the summer. I'd hate to see a young child at the Book Barn get hit by a car. Car-to-car accidents are one thing, but it's just that I can take a picture now of the Book Barn. It's dead. It's closed. It's freezing. In the summertime, the amount of children out there, babies, babies and strollers, children, and you can really only park on that one side, which is the east side of Park Place.
They park on the other side too, though. I'm a nurse. I work, so I turn left all the time going to L&M in the morning, and it's okay. In the summertime, all bets are off. It's really tough. Really, any time of the day, but especially in the afternoon. So what we request is a study
Traffic
now
study at that
with our
location.
town as it is, growing, thriving, and on a Friday or a Saturday, so we can actually see what the impact will be.
Just too quickly, the expert witness said if this was a Dunkin' Donuts, we'd have to do a high volume study. Book Barn is high volume during this period, so I really think there needs to be a study. The other thing is that the expert witness said downtown Yale, the population drops by 30% easily. Well, conversely, our population surges by 30%. So we have 30% population just local, plus we have another 30% estimate from January I-95 to summer I-95. That's a 60% increase based on their expert
Crazy,
witness.
you know, you're in town. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, come on up.
Pictures. John Wilson, I live on 13 Park Place. So I've got a unique experience. I'm going to take more than 3 minutes if I could. But I also lived at 25 Brook Road, Mike, for about 12 years. Grew up on 18 Brook Road. Brook Road is right next to Park Place. 18 homes on Brook Road, 18 homes. They're all ranch-style homes built 1959, 1961, okay? Ranch-style homes, 18 homes on Park Place, okay? It's one way in, one way out. It's basically a lollipop, all right? I'm having the deja vu of 2008. I was here. Hard to believe that I was alive in 2008, but I was. And I was here to say, you know what? In 2008, they wanted to jam 100 units in there, up on the very top of the hill. If you're sitting at Cafe Sol now, you can see all the buildings, you know, making their way up the top of the hill. At the top of the hill, they wanted to put another 30 units of like elderly housing basically up there. So then, whatever happened behind the scenes, and the town decided, we're not going to fight this. The 6-0, zoning board at the time that shot it down said, well, it's going to happen anyways. So, Village Crossing, I believe it's 44 units as of now. It's 66 that's been approved, okay? So I'm going to take some numbers, and, well, I'll go back to that. A lot of people talk and certainly know about the Book Barn. Randy? Randy's staff does a great job of standing out there, and he pays a person to stand out there and try to help alleviate parking issues and whatever. But when you have too many people in one tiny little street, and especially on a weekend, you know, or Randy's having a sale in October. I mean, it is a cluster. And I mean that in a sort of good way, except if you live on Park Place. It is a mess. And it could be a mess on any given weekend. So these traffic studies on a rainy October on a Wednesday are ridiculous, in my mind, okay? Here's the corner, okay? Here's the corner at Park Place looking to the west. Sorry, shut it off. I've got.
We have to be fair to everyone.
I know, but listen, we've waited our whole. This is the second
Is there
week.
someone else that can finish your?
No, I don't think anybody else could do it.
I
Listen,
have to be fair.
Or give the other guy more time.
We cut the other guy off.
I can come back. There's nothing fair about a 3-minute limit.
Can
I'll
you?
give you my 3 minutes.
Well-
My 3 minutes. You can have my 3 minutes.
9 minutes you got.
At 9.
You just got 9.
I'll have him come up here with me.
You gotta give him more time too, the other guy.
If you want to give him your 3 minutes, then you can give Mr. Brubaker 3 minutes too.
Okay, here's the corner, all right? Here's the proposed, what I said in '08. Now, what did we get? The developer got a sidewalk. He put in a sidewalk, Randy, they took a little bit of your property or whatever. I say the cars are even further into Park Place than they were before that, because they parked further into the sort of off-the-road parking, all right? But here's the sidewalk if we say, listen, if we're going to approve this and it's going to change our whole living even more, public safety needs a sidewalk, okay? I don't care what it costs. That's probably a retaining wall, because if you look to the west, all right, and you're coming out of Park Place, the cars disappear. I drive a Ram 1500. I work right here in town, okay? The car will disappear when it's coming past Charlie's, and then all of a sudden, it's on top of you before you know it. There will be multiple accidents. Okay, so here's the proposed sidewalk that I'm saying, for public safety wise, the other place is called Village Crossing. Everybody's going to be able to walk to the village. Nobody can walk to the village. If we put another 60 units, another 120 people, plus kids, how are they going to walk to see the light parade? They're not going to walk because they can't walk. It's not safe to walk. Here's what it, well, I'll take it this way, right? For public safety, you have to have a sidewalk. If this gets jammed through and we lose, right? We could lose 6-0, you guys approve it. If nothing else happens, we should get a sidewalk. Here's the sidewalk, okay? Here's Randy's. It's very steep right here. I've asked Randy's, one of his workers, hey, could you cut down some of that stuff right by the goats? You know, because you can't see the car coming at you. Right here. That's where it all overgrows, right? Here's a guy on a bicycle. You wouldn't want to walk here. Here's the next. Move a little bit further down the road. And you think, holy shit, how much time did you spend on this? Some of this stuff, I got it from 08. That's 18 years ago. 18 years ago, we were talking about this same stuff, and now it's just doubling it. We're going to put another 60 units on a tiny little street. That's a lollipop that had 18 homes. Here's the street. And you got to believe me, that's a picture of the street. This is real life, people. Right here, okay? That's my foot to the curb, right in front of Charlie's. It's 3 inches wide. That's it. That's all you got. Right in front of the condos at 31 West Main. You've got 3 inches. There it is. Right there. 3 inches. You can't walk anything there, okay? If that sidewalk that I mentioned attempted to walk eastward to the school and to the downtown village, we all talk about that now, and as Randy says, you know, business-wise, the place is booming, right? Restaurants open. If you're going to walk there, we got to have a sidewalk. We go a little further down the road, but don't forget, there's a brook that goes underneath right at Charlie's, okay? How do we get a sidewalk and how do we get across? So now there needs to be a pedestrian bridge that holds on to that little bridge, and that has to be included in the sidewalk, okay? That's me in 2008. That's Telaid, excuse me. That's Telaid right there on West Main, right? You can't walk there, and obviously the sidewalk wouldn't be there. It would have to be in here a bit, and who knows with telephone poles and everything else. But where's the sidewalk? Here's the sidewalk. We've got our elementary school. I went to school at that elementary school. I've lived here 63 and a half years. Hard to believe, right? Here's the sidewalk that needs to be put in. If you can get them to that point, they can walk to the village. Okay? That's my point, and I'm sorry I'm taking up the time, but it's important. So here's the school. So I see the school being used on the weekends for parking. I think anybody that lives here have seen the same thing. So what I'm also saying is, if we lose everything else and they jam 60 more units in, right? If there's a sidewalk, and I don't care who pays for it, but whoever's making money maybe should pay for it. The sidewalk would allow these people not only to walk safely to the village, to the beach, to go to dinner, all those things, go to the light parade, go to the boardwalk, but they could also park at the school and go to Randy's business safely on a sidewalk.
Is that the conclusion?
Just the one last picture, and I'm going to leave you with this. Okay, so I tried to give you a history of Park Place, right?
Is someone donating 3 more minutes? Okay,
Did somebody
we have
else
a
give me
man
3
in the
minutes?
back.
Thank you.
Okay, you got his
Thank
3
you.
minutes.
I'll pay you whatever you want per minute. So I wanted to try to give you a history in case, and maybe there's some people that don't realize. So Park Place, pre-2008, we had 18 single-family homes on a tiny little street, okay? 2 people per house, that gives us 36 people. Most people have a car, so we probably got 36 cars. Future Park Place, and it's in the works right now. We've got a approved 66 units where 44 of them have been built. That's an additional, once they all get built out, 132 more people living there, or 132 more cars, if everybody's got a car, right? If we allow another 60 units to be stuffed into Park Place, that's another 120 people and another 120 cars. There better be extra parking in there for people that are going to have a yard sale or a 50th birthday, because there's certainly no room on the street to park. Here's 36 people, and there's the 288 people that would now live on the tiny little street. Okay? And so to prove the point about the cars, if Parker's Place is approved, the number of cars on Park Place would increase to 288 cars. 288 cars! Is that crazy? That's the 36 cars that always lived on Park Place until 2011, and, they allowed them to build it. There's the parking lot with 288 cars. That's what we're talking about. Even if we lose everything, for the public safety part of it, we need a sidewalk so we can walk to town safely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To be fair, does someone want to donate 3 minutes to Mr. Brubaker?
Would you guys like these, or can I pass them around?
If you want to leave them for exhibits, give them to Janet. And someone raised their hand to donate 3 more minutes to you, Mr. Brubaker.
I feel like an old-time radio talk show, like last time on When I Talked at the Commission meeting. Let's see if I can make use of 3 minutes. Operator 2, who claimed no injury, stated that he was traveling west on Route 156 when the sun got in his eyes. As he pulled his sunglasses down, he never realized that Vehicle 1 was slowing down in front of him and could not avoid the collision. I observed heavy damage to the rear-end driver's side of Vehicle 1. The weather conditions at the time of this collision were clear. The road surface was dry. The posted speed limit in the area is 35 miles per hour. There were no skid marks. There was no indication of excessive speed or heavy braking by Vehicle 2. This official report leads a reader to conclude that there was a somewhat serious accident, but fortunately only minor injuries. However, an accident report is only evidence of a real and actualized risk. It's not evidence of the final result of a traffic collision. We've talked about $1,000 worth of damage being the limit that had been set in the CT-CDR studies. Vehicle number 1 belonged to my parents. This accident was not minor, nor were there injuries. My mother suffered a permanent brain injury that ended her teaching career. My father suffered injuries to his arms and back, which contributed to the eventual need for reconstructive surgery in his back. Both suffered severe migraines for 6 months without stop. They settled in court, and the damages were large and greatly exceeding $1,000. Of course, their vehicle was totaled. I asked the Commission to note the date of this report. Again, it's attached. The date is 03/07/2011. This was 3 years after the Commission deemed the intersection at 16 CT 156 and Park Place was too dangerous for any reasonable changes to adequately protect the public interests from the significant risks of traffic and pedestrian safety. Furthermore, it was 2 months after the town announced a settlement over litigation with Village Crossing on 01/19/2011, which resulted in the eventual approval and construction of the previously denied Village Crossing, which resulted in 66 additional units. As stated many times by Attorney Heller, traditional zoning requirements are not applicable under CT 830G zoning change applications. The burden of proof for denial is on the Commission. For cases where traffic or pedestrian safety risks outweigh the benefit of affordable housing, I feel the Commission will agree that the accumulation of evidence weighs heavily against this proposal. I cite potential gross negligence in the traffic studies submitted by VHB. While it is an iterative process, the omissions were large. The traffic accident evidence submitted by myself and Catherine Marion as well, and the unresolved pre-existing safety concerns cited by this Commission in 2008. The lack of improvements to traffic control, sidewalk sightlines, or speed limits at the intersection constitute undeniable proof of significant traffic and pedestrian safety risks, both real and realized. We've been told that empirical data is required in order to legally object. Perhaps it's on the Commission and the town to acquire more data. The CT-CDR contained 9 accident reports. I'll be done in 1 second. However, it failed to catch many more. Catherine Marion submitted 1. I'm submitting another which I read from. It was filed by the state police, yet it was missing from a state database. What else is missing? How many more accidents have occurred at or within the stop distance and sight lines required by safety that are not reported by the CT-CDR, that were missed by VHB in their 3 reports, and the students who worked them?
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
I know I spoke last week, but Barb Weinshank, 26 Huntley Court. I just want to reiterate, again, the sidewalks, very important. But I also wanted just to remind everyone that the reason we're having the zoning meeting is to change the zoning from 1 house per acre, which is what Park Place is zoned as. 1 house per acre. Now we're putting in another 60 in the 6 acres. And this is a basically cul-de-sac, 1 way in, 1 way out. I don't know if EMS has been consulted on this as far as how they feel getting in and out. What if there's a large fire and there needs to be an evacuation? How do you get all those cars out of there? How do you get the people out of there? This is a public safety concern. And it looks good on paper, like everyone has said, traffic this, traffic that. People that live there know that traffic is a problem. People that live there and go to Book Barn and live in the area know that driving, walking in that area is a public safety concern. And I know that it's threatening. There's been a lot of threatening comments made that you can't change this, but this is 18 affordable units. So if they want to say, oh, this is an affordable housing project, make it all 60 affordable housing, because 42 are being added to that percentage that we are supposed to be meeting. So yes, deny it on public safety because it is a public safety concern.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else here tonight that would like to speak? Yes, come on up.
This should be very, very quick, and I did mention it in my letter.
Could you mention your name and
I'm
address,
sorry.
please?
Michelle Bissell, 16 Village Crossing.
Okay.
Just speaking to the numerous times Mr. Heller discussed density and health safety, I'm just wondering if the WB 40 turning demo, including the vehicle turning with cars parked on both sides of the street. Would a hook and ladder, for instance, be able to make the swing if cars were parked on both sides?
When the public hearing is over, they'll address anything that's come up.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Because that is a reality. I've got some photos, which I'll leave with you.
Okay.
Even on a bleak winter day, there was cars parked on both sides of Park Place. So we would need to make sure that if this goes through, those people would be able to be safe, and as would we all. Thank you.
Okay. If you'd like to leave photos, leave them with Janet.
I will.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else here tonight that would like to speak? Going once, going twice? Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask Attorney Heller if there's anything tonight you would like to address.
Good evening. Again, for the record, Harry Heller. Just a couple of things. There should be no cars parking on the west side of Park Place. That should be posted, no parking. Those are designated parking spaces adjacent to the sidewalk on the east side of the road, and you should just not have it on both sides. With respect to the sidewalk issue, that is an existing condition. Whether we put these 60 units in there or not, there is a pedestrian issue to get from the Park Place area down to the village. That is a government responsibility. It's off-site, it has nothing to do with this project, and it exists as it is today. Our client would be willing to contribute something to that endeavor, but that endeavor is going to be a matter between the town of East Lyme and the state of Connecticut, because West Main Street is a state highway. And I'll state for the record, it's something that we will consider, but it is not my client's responsibility. It's not the responsibility of this project. Their evaluation of the traffic in the area and the roadway design shows that there is safe ingress to and egress from this project, and that it does not exacerbate any safety issues either at the Park Place site driveway intersection or at the Park Place West Main Street intersection. Again, we've heard the comments. We recognize that there is a pedestrian problem there, and we're willing to participate in the solution, but we are not the solution. Thank you.
Does the commission have any last questions, or would you like to close the hearing?
I'd like to make a motion that we close the hearing.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? The hearing's closed. Thank you. The second hearing tonight has agreed to come another night, so we will not have that hearing. Mr. Peck will come back. Yes. And we'll move on to our regular meeting. And thank you all who came tonight and participated.
Attorney Heller, here's your.
Yeah, we have to keep
That for the record.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to continue with our regular meeting. If you could take it outside to talk, we need to continue with our meeting. Thank you. Our regular meeting, we will open with the application of Parker's Place LLC pursuant to General Statute 830G for a zone change, site plan, and coastal area management review for a multifamily affordable residential housing development on property located on the westerly side of Park Place, East Lyme. And I'd like to mention that we do have 65 days to make a decision. I personally would like to go back and read all the things that were turned in as evidence, so I would suggest we continue the regular meeting.
I make a motion that we continue the public hearing for Parker
Not
Place.
public hearing, the regular
I'm
meeting.
sorry, the regular meeting
It's been a long night.
for Parker Place. Yes, it's been a really long meeting.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second to continue our regular meeting to discuss Parker Place. Do we have everyone
She
want to vote?
seconded it.
I
Yeah,
did,
we
I
have a
seconded it.
second. Everyone that wants to continue, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 600.
Would
We'll
we have
continue.
an opportunity to discuss
Next,
this?
we had the East Lyme Park and Rec, which has agreed to move their hearing to another night. So let's move on to the minutes. Did everyone get a chance to read the minutes?
Yes, I did, and
I found a couple things I'd like to mention. Miss Jet Harris, lucky for us, noticed on their blueprints that they weren't correct, and so I'd like to have that put in the minutes. Mr. Tichy was the resident who talked about the cell tower, so I'd like to add his name, Tichy, John Tichy. And I believe the Mr. Hanfield, I don't think he was in the minutes.
I think he talked extensively.
Yeah, I think he was in the minutes, no? Did I
Yeah,
miss that?
so maybe we could go back and look at what he said and add that to the minutes from last time.
No, I guess not.
I didn't see it in there.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Maybe we could go back and look at these minutes and approve them next time. Okay.
Good idea.
Yes, great
Okay,
idea.
Let's do that.
Do I need to make a motion for
I
that?
make a motion that we review these minutes at the next meeting.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, we will approve the minutes next time. Old business, I don't think we have any. Do we have a committee report from short-term rentals?
Yes, we're going to meet next Tuesday. I don't have the date right now. Next Wednesday, yes, at 10 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. Under new business, we have a few things. We have, they're on my notes. Yeah. The application of Nathaniel Bodnar for a proposed text amendment to section 1.90 of the East Lyme zoning regulations to update the definition of a brew pub to include all alcoholic beverages, and you are scheduling that? Yeah. Secondly, an application of Jeffrey A. McNamara for a proposed text amendment to section 5 by adding section 5.2.10 to permit educational or philanthropic use by a nonprofit corporation on 50 acres or more in the RU40 zone, subject to special permit with additional controls in section 25.5 of the East Lyme zoning regulations, and you'll be scheduling that. Thirdly, we'll have the application of Jillian Lepore Euler for a special permit under section 5.2.4 roadside stand of the East Lyme zoning regulations for property located at 73 Scott Road, East Lyme Assessors Map 34.0, Lot 16. And I understand you're scheduling that as well. Thank you. Next is any business on the floor, if any, by the majority vote of the commission. I just wanted to bring one thing up quickly. Last year, we did talk about outdoor dining, and we all kind of agreed to move it to this year. I would like to ask the commission to review the outdoor dining regulations. I have a suggestion, just like adding a sentence, but if you wouldn't mind and agree to just re-looking at those, and if you have any thoughts on it, it would be good to look at it now before all the applications come in. So if that's agreeable. Okay, correspondence we read tonight.
I have some business. I think this is where it belongs.
Yes, go ahead.
I want us to consider, I don't know if it'll be at this meeting or not, moving public delegations back up to where it used to be, where like planning commission has them. Because I think it's unfair to make people sit through 2 hours of meeting to talk to the commission. I think we should be a little more user-friendly than that and have it at the beginning. Is that something that we can vote on tonight, or do we have to?
We can think about it.
On for another meeting.
We can vote if we want to put it on the schedule for the next meeting.
Okay.
Would you like to make a...
I would like to make a motion that we move, that we consider moving public delegations up to earlier in the meeting and to take it up at our next meeting.
And we can discuss it or vote on it. From previous experience, I'm still against doing that, but if 4 of us want to do it, of course, we'll do it. Go ahead. Does
Well, I
anybody
think
else
we
have
should
an
be
opinion?
encouraging public, discourse. I think putting it at the end rather discourages public delegations. I know that...
Especially
I
on
know-
nights like tonight.
Yeah, especially when we have a lot of public hearings.
Yeah, but these
I think
people
it just
came
makes
tonight,
sense.
like they did in the other things, to talk about what they wanted to talk about. Nobody was talking about stuff that was not on the agenda.
I watched several people walk out.
Yeah, last time did too, because they're from Park Place, they live there, and they wanted to talk. And
I
they,
just think it's unfair to the residents of East Lyme that we serve,
I agree.
that we push public delegations to the end of the meeting.
Well, let's vote on if we want to have it on the agenda next week to vote on it.
Sure. Make a motion that we have it on the agenda for the next meeting.
second,
All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? I oppose it. Abstain?
Wait,
No?
we're talking about it next time.
Yeah,
We're not,
yeah.
we're not stating, we're gonna
Yeah.
think about it and talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, all
So
right,
we'll talk about it next time.
perfect.
Okay. We have public delegations. Is there anyone here tonight?
They're all home in bed.
Okay, no one. We'll move on. Mr. Mulholland.
Spring is springing.
We're scheduling at your next meeting, Attorney Blue's got us coming to talk about the affordable housing legislation. And chickens are also on that.
Are we going to have a chance to talk to him about?
We will be here, we may have members of the planning commission and other folks who are interested in the presentation.
Yeah, I mean, after.
And you may have an opportunity to ask questions.
Super.
Well, we kind of need to ask them questions, because
Yeah.
this is a moratorium. We were told that the percentages were at 10%. And now we're,
They've never been at 10%.
I,
6.35.
Something you can talk about when he's here if you choose.
There's
Yeah.
two ways to measure it. We qualified through the other way, not the percentage way.
So does anybody know what happened with the siting council?
I'm gonna bring that up. I sent an email to the first selectman asking what's going on with the moratorium, because actually it would have been nice to have one in place before
Oh, yeah.
Parker's Place came to us. I asked him what happened at the siding council. I have not heard back from him yet. I invited him to come to any zoning meeting. I have not heard a response, but if I get one, I'll let you know.
Wait, you just said that you've invited First Selectman to come and he hasn't
Anytime he
responded?
wants, I've asked him these, I sent an email asking these questions, and I've
Uh-huh.
offered to meet individually. So hopefully we'll get an answer soon.
Thank you for doing that, Madam Chairman.
Sure. Ex officio. Okay.
Thank you, Roseanne.
The zoning board liaison to planning, we have Ms. Jet Harris going February 10th.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just said what I have to say. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I would second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Good night.
Motion made, yes.